Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Brand new film coming out from this woman right here, Alexandra McGuinness. She's Missing. Brand new joint for you. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
You got it. So there is a ton to unpack in this movie. I saw it last night, and it's super trippy. It's emotional. It gets pretty deep there. So what was it like putting this whole thing together?
It took a while, and yeah, I mean, it has a lot of different elements. So it was, you know, it was exciting to make and exciting to put together in the edit, because I think that, you know, we have these great performances by Eiza Gonzalez and Lucy Fry and Josh Hartnett, and there's an amazing, like, original score by Dave Harrington. There's all these New Mexico vistas and this kind of trippy cactus drug stuff. So, yeah.
That certainly plays a big role in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
What was the toughest part of the story to tell here?
You know, it's a tricky story to tell because, in a way, the characters and the atmosphere are as important as the plot and the story. So it was tricky at times to see what we're going to give the weight to, or which character we would. I mean, you're following Lucy, Heidi throughout the movie, really, but which other parts of her story are going to get more weight than the others, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, you mentioned the location, and it's one of those places that people kind of drive through. They're not sticking around for a long time, but the people that do stick around, like, there is certainly a lot to talk about with that. So what fascinated you the most about just the location, kind of middle of nowhere, people aren't really hanging out here? Like, what was most intriguing about that to you?
Well, I mean, I hadn't set it in a real place. It was set in a made-up town in a way, but we ended up shooting in New Mexico. And we shot most of the movie in a town called Moriarty, just on the outskirts of Albuquerque. And, sorry, I'll say that again.
Sure, there, go for it.
We shot most of the movie in a town called Moriarty on the outskirts of Albuquerque. And that was a town that used to be on Route 66, and at a certain point was bypassed by the I-40. So quite depressed economically. But, you know, it was great to film there because, like, the restaurant that Heidi works at, the barbecue restaurant in the film, like, they did lots of our catering, and I feel like everyone in the town became involved in the making of the movie, whether they were, like, letting us use their car park or showing us around, or, you know, people would show up, and there was this woman showed up to let us use a location, and her son had just got a scholarship to Juilliard to play the guitar, and so he turned up, and he ended up playing, like, guitar at Eiza Gonzalez's wedding in the film, and so I felt like we kind of involved the community.
Oh, so that scene where they're dancing right in front there, that's him playing the guitar.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So
that's
that
really
was
cool.
It was like little things like that that changed when we got into the real space. I mean, the idea came from like other places that I had visited where I had seen lots of missing posters and felt like there was this kind of dangerous element to being on your own as a woman there and that kind of thing.
And there kind of is that theme throughout the entire movie. Like, it doesn't matter if it's Heidi at the diner, if she's going out with friends, like, it kind of pulsates throughout. So how did you make sure that was a constant throughout the film?
Yeah, I think that the idea of her being kind of alone in the world and it being a sort of scary place wherever she goes was an idea, and that both of the girls are working in the service industry. Like, Eiza works at the casino, and Lucy's character Heidi works at this restaurant, and there is this presence of these men who are looking at them in a certain way or talking to them in a certain way that's taking advantage of them, and that they're sort of powerless in their lives in that part of it, and so they find different ways to gain their own power throughout the movie.
I thought you really hit on just the disconnect between men and women, because Heidi's character is so naive, thinking the best intentions of the older man who comes into her life, and obviously it's a much different situation for him. So what was it like playing with that idea just between a couple different characters there?
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, Lucy Fry's character, Heidi, embarks on a relationship with Christian Camargo's character, who's a kind of older ICE agent in the movie. And I think, you know, she's innocent, but maybe not so naive.
Right.
She expects the best in him, but in a way she's kind of blocking out what she already knows about him, like that he's married and that he maybe doesn't have the best intentions. But I think they do still have a moment where they both find something in that relationship that that is important and that they need at that time.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. How about this friendship between these two women? Because it kind of has a few different layers to it, where it's like one person probably values it a little bit more, but then there's a situation that comes up where Heidi has to go and find her friend. So what was most important in terms of hitting on that friendship and that relationship?
Their friendship was one of the main things I was interested in making this film, like making a film about kind of uneven, unusual female friendship that I don't think you see in a lot of movies. I mean, you do see it in movies and things like My Summer of Love, although that kind of bends more towards a romantic relationship. But where they have this kind of power struggle, but they need each other, and there is this kind of loneliness in the town that they are, and so I wanted to examine this relationship and to always have it be changing, and one person is kind of leading it at a different point in each part of the film.